to have a little contest?
Yeah, I think this might be a little mismatched, so
Well, I don't know.
Good luck to you.
Typically, a player on the tour will take a sleeve of balls, drop them on the ground, and hit putts. And some guys like to go close and start with their shorter putts. Other people will, get their speed on longer putts, which I like to do.
Yes.
So I think this is a kind of cool competition. We got some break here. You got some wind here.
Wind's
a big factor in putting.
Yeah.
Count to 3, and we'll hit it and see who can get closest.
Okay. There we go. You ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
1, 2, 3. Well,
It's pretty telling, isn't it? Oh, look at you.
how you
Thanks
doing?
for having me. Welcome to Old Palm.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
This is great.
this is good. The place is in great shape.
Beautiful
right
place, right?
now. Yeah, great practice facility.
Yeah.
Greens are fast.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
This is your home, yes?
This is where we've lived now for almost 5 years.
Wow.
When you consider the best putters of all time, Brad Faxon immediately comes to mind. The tempo, the pace, the confidence.
Brad Faxon is regarded as one of the best on the green.
But Faxon's swagger is backed up with stats. In his prime, from 1996 to 2000, he was top 3 on tour in putting average every single year.
Thanks.
His expertise is so well regarded, the game's superstars have come calling. In recent years, he's worked directly with major champions Rory McIlroy and Gary Woodland. I traveled to Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, to learn more about the art and science of putting from quite possibly the best putter of his generation.
That's how it's done. So good. Best putter of all time right there. Like literally the best putter of all time. I think that's kind of wild. Think about.
I'm loose. You ready? I don't need more than that.
Windy.
Very windy.
Very windy day, right?
Good fast greens.
And fast greens. Why don't you take us through a little bit of your process before you hit a putt, and then just kind of the mindset, your routine, all that. You've worked a lot with Dr. Bob Rotella.
Rotella said something to me early on that stuck with me and helped me throughout my career. And I played for a long time on the tour, but putting is still part of a sport, right? It's a game, it has to be played. He always stressed making this fun. I see a lot of players when they struggle go in the opposite direction. They want to learn more, and I think players get sometimes confused that overloading information is going to make you better at this. And there's a lot of great putters that didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, and I've also seen a lot of players work on their mechanics, actually get their mechanics to a great place.
Yes.
But then that little cherry on top that they needed was to almost put that on the shelf, at least mentally for a bit, trust the work you've done, and tap into that athleticism.
And you have to do it. And the poorer your mechanics are, you better have more trust.
Yeah,
that's
a good point too.
So you got to have it both ways.
Right.
And how I like to keep things working is to stay in motion.
Okay.
And I think for me, I try to treat putting like it was a free throw shot in basketball, a baseball pitch, for a pitcher, a tennis serve, where the player has to start the club head and the ball in motion, and both of those things are still to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. So having a great routine was a huge part of my success. So if I have this putt, I'll show you what I do. I've read this green, this is a pretty straight putt, but it's complicated because wind's blowing it opposite the slope, and when the ball slows down, the wind can take over here.
Okay.
So you got to make a commitment to, are you going to hit this firm or not? Now, I've always been a guy, Chris, that liked to use the line on the ball to putt.
Okay.
And I was one of the first guys that did it, and I even think that Titleist...
For every length putt?
Every length putt
Okay.
that I've always hit. And I only use it for my start line, and this is really important. I never try to aim my putter and make it perpendicular to the line. I just put the putter down.
So this is just purely to see where you want to start the ball. It has nothing to do with your alignment, actually.
Nothing. No, my alignment, I'm a little bit of an open player. My feet have always been a little bit open.
Yep.
I saw some of the best players in the world, Jack Nicklaus, Ben Crenshaw, Tom Watson. They were always a little bit open. They were never square. So, I visualize a line, and I like to do that from, back of the ball. I'll see that line, and once I get up to hit the putt, I know what my routine is. I have one practice stroke with my feet not set, get up over the ball, look at the hole. I have 2 looks at the hole, and then I go. I'll show you one, then we can talk about it too.
Yep.
So I come in from the side a little bit, put the putter down, and I look once and make a practice stroke, put the putter down twice, look again, and then I go.
Wow.
So
Brad, you hit that putt so quick after you set into it.
I don't ever try to feel like I'm quick. I just want to be continual.
Right.
And
but you see so many amateurs just kind of freeze over the putt. I mean, I know I've been victim of this before. To your point, you've sort of lost that athleticism a bit.
Well, if you're thinking about what you have to do and you've had a lesson and you're going through, okay, I've got to keep still, I got to take it back low, I got to take it back slow, I got to follow through. If you're going through that, I think you lose the feels out here that you have to have. And it's amazing when players have putted great and they go into the press room and what you hear them say, it felt easy today. I just saw the line. The putter was moving before I even started to swing. It's all that kind of stuff that it's hard to do.
You talk a lot about instinct and feel, but some people could argue that you have the luxury to do that because of how great your mechanics are. And I would also say that sometimes people can kind of pigeonhole you into as a teacher who doesn't really consider the mechanics either, and I know you do.
I've talked to a lot of great players that have totally different feels about mechanics. Some people feel rotational, some people feel tilt, some people feel more big muscles and center, other people feel the fingers and wrists. So there's always a blend there, but my best feelings were always right-sided feelings, right-sided thoughts to me.
Are you right-handed?
I'm very right-handed. I threw right-handed. I played a lot of racket sports. I was good at anything with a ball coming at you, but I always felt like my best feels were when my right wrist, right elbow, and my right shoulder always worked together and worked down. I always felt like it was piston-like.
Oh, interesting.
And I felt like when I went through the ball, I was covering.
Would you ever hit balls right hand only, or?
I see a lot of players, whether it's Tiger Woods or John Daly, they'll sit here with, their left hand will be on their thigh, and they'll hit a lot of putts just one-handed. And my sensations were right shoulder would be going forward and down, and the left shoulder would be going up and around a little bit.
Cool.
But I also felt arm swing coupled with that. And it was a great feeling for me. It was a simple feeling for me. So this whole chain from the head of the putter up to my right shoulder helped me to press or compress into the golf ball. And that was something that I always tried to feel when I hit putts. That's a little better.
Very nice.
Coming up,
You're just gonna feel like hitting up on this ball just a little
A
bit.
little bit of a rise.
Yep.
Release it a little bit with that lead
Yep.
wrist.
Yep, let
Go
the
ahead,
head
Sid.
pass the grip there through impact. Okay.
Let's talk about a little bit more with green reading.
It starts from as soon as you hit your ball on the green. I've always felt like I can read a green better the farther away I am from the hole and from the ball.
Okay.
Like, so if I'm right by the ball here, I don't have the perception that I would when I'm walking up to the green. So if I've hit my shot from the tee over here, when I get to this front of this green, I'm checking everything out.
So you're taking an inventory of all the slopes,
Everything.
the overall sort of shape of the green.
As I got to be a good putter and a better reader of greens, I remember when I first met Tiger Woods, I was telling him how I use my feet a lot to read the greens. But Tiger Woods, if you ask him, he talks about how he feels a lot of the slope with his feet.
Would you actually go between the ball and the hole?
Well, I like to go underneath the hole. So if this putt were a right to left breaking
Yes.
putt, I'd be underneath the hole. And I've
Okay.
seen a lot of great instructors say the same thing. Dave Stockton, who was very well known as a good putter. I see the break better when you're here. And Stockton made a good point. He said if you were going to read a book, you'd tilt it towards you. You would never tilt it away from you, right? And I think it's crucial on green reading if you can get halfway between the ball and the hole, whether it's a 5-foot putt or a 50-footer like we just had.
Right.
I would definitely be over here, and I think the farther I get away, the better I can read the green. And how often have you played or seen players? Well, they'll misread a putt, and then when they get off the green, they'll look at their caddy and they'll go,
Yes,
like,
right,
they
right.
should have been farther away.
So this green reading process for you is a combination of what you see,
Yes.
from a distance as well,
Yep.
coming up to the green, getting a sense of what the slope is from your feet,
Yep.
which Aim Point is a great system to also
Great
do that as
system.
well if someone
Yep.
wants to go through the process of learning that. And you're taking in all this information.
And I think there's color. There's
Okay, I was
sight,
gonna say,
you know,
yep.
so you said what you see, and it's not just seeing the slopes or high points. You know, where's water going to drain? You know, the ball's always going to fall down the hill. You know, on Bermuda grass, some kinds of bent grasses, you can see the darkness and the colors
Sure.
in which way grain goes. And obviously, your feel for wind.
That's a
And
big deal, right?
It's a bigger deal than anything else, is the speed of winds. And that's one of the reasons why when we play a British Open, the flag sticks are shorter, so they won't wrap around like this. And the green speeds are always slower over there
Okay, yeah.
because of the winds. So when I get ready to putt, Chris, you know, when I've read a green, I always like to read the green with the ball down. For
Okay.
some reason, that's something I like. It might not make a lot of sense. I mean, I can get a pretty good concept when I have a marker down here. But once I've felt like, okay, I know this is going to break a little bit, and here is a putt I would think would break a little bit to the left normally, but the wind's going to hold this thing up a little
Yes.
bit. So it'd be challenging because now you got to figure out how you're going to deal with the speed.
Okay.
And wind, of all the factors that are out there, and Dave Pelz would have said this years ago, the wind can be the biggest factor, and most difficult times make it hard to read. I know there's a trend now, Chris, to speed up play. Everybody's got to play fast, and I'm like, what's the hurry? I mean, I know a lot of clubs that it's more important how quickly you play than what you shoot. If you play in 3 hours and 20 minutes versus 3 hours and 30 minutes, is that going to change your life?
Right.
Come on.
Okay, so how about within the context of professional golf?
Bit of pressure put on with slow play warning, middle of the round.
Okay, so let's just say you're a foursome at your club and you normally play in 3:45 or 4 hours. You're not playing 7,400 yards. You're not playing on greens that are 14 on the Stimpmeter. You're not playing with rough that's 3 or 4 inches high. And you're not playing for $8 million in world ranking points and FedEx points, whatever you're playing for. It's hard. And you jam 156 players onto a golf course on Thursday and Friday. There's no way. We've been talking about slow play for 50 years. We're going to be talking about slow play for 50 more years. It's really not going to change unless you make courses easier and have less people on the golf course.
Thank you.
Bold statement.
Yeah, you're gonna get some grief for this one, but thank you.
I know, you got it.
It's time now for Swing Better, Play Better, presented by Golf Tech.
So here we are practicing some putting. This is a fun exercise you can use with just a rope and 4 tees that can really help you putt better. First though, this is the biggest mistake I see people make when they putt. It's not choosing an end point. So this little cluster of rope, that's where I'm trying to stop the ball at. A lot of people are either trying to stop the ball at the hole or they're not even taking that into account. So I need to roll it that far past. Second, I've placed this rope down so that it really just mirrors the putt itself and how I believe it's going to break. So close to the hole, about 5 feet away, I've got 2 tees here. I should be able to roll the ball through that spot. And then about 1 foot from the golf ball here, I've got 2 more tees that are pretty close together. And if I can't start the ball through there, I know I've got a problem with the starting direction. And if I can't get it through that next part, I've got some more practice to use. So I'll go ahead and move this rope. And now it's time to actually putt this and see if it's actually the read I want. So I need it to roll through this gate, miss this rope, and stop somewhere pretty close to the end there. So once I hit a driver in the fairway, nice iron shot, I should feel pretty confident over these putts. Started that pretty well, just missed the left edge, and I hit it a touch too hard. So I might practice this putt a few times, but ultimately I'd start moving around the green, lay down the rope, repeat that procedure again. This will help you better understand why you miss putts, why you make them, what part of the skills you don't have. A lot of people are really bad at reading greens. All of these problems you can get solved with the help of a local golf tech coach near you.
Next on Swing Expedition,
You've also done some great work recently with Rory.
I saw a little bit of a trigger with his right thumb, had a little bit of a bounce right before he went to putt.
Okay.
I battled with myself. Should I tell him that? Because it's obviously subconscious. But I said, you know what, if he knows that, I think that he'll appreciate what I'm showing him. One of the things I always do when I give a lesson is I use this cool device called blast motion. It's a little sensor that hooks up to your putter, and then Bluetooth to your iPhone. And it gives me all kinds of information on what your stroke's doing, with the timing, the tempo, the rotation, how far you go back, the speed it's going. So it's got a lot of technology in it. And I also use my iPhone to video the ball, what it's doing. All right.
Is that to see the roll of it?
Yeah, I like to see the roll, what it does when it leaves a putter face, because I want to see where it's hitting on the face and what speed it's going, and if the loft is the right loft.
Okay, you tell me when you're
ready. I got it filming right here. Let it go. Okay, so now I can capture that.
I made it.
It looks like it's pushing into the ground and hopping a little bit. I think the ball should be a little bit farther forward because you're hitting on the top edge of your putter there, and most of the good putters are hitting the middle of the ball and the middle of the face and almost on the rise. So if you put the ball a little bit farther forward,
okay,
and maybe feel like the butt end of the club as you're going through is coming up a little bit.
Okay.
So that's the rise angle, right? How the putter's leaving the ground,
Yes.
coming up 1 or 2 degrees, and then you could feel maybe a little more right hand hit so that you see a little more extension in the left wrist.
Okay.
I think that'll help on this next putt.
And that's something you do a little bit in your stroke.
I love that, and I think that'll make a difference in what this ball does when it leaves the putter.
Okay, so a little bit farther forward.
It's farther forward. I can see that there. Yep.
Okay.
Grip's the same. So you're just going to feel like you're hitting up on this ball just a little bit.
A little bit of the rise.
Yep.
And then release it a little bit with that lead wrist.
Yep. Let
going
the head past the grip there through impact. Okay. I like it. And you can see here that it's hitting the middle of the putter. It's hitting the middle of the ball, and you had it before on the top of the face, which was cramming it into the ground and making it.
Right. And even though I may have pulled that one a little bit, that actually had a nicer roll to it.
Yeah, and you can see it here when you look at it. You'll see the difference between, here's the first one. See how it's going in and jumping up. This one's much more level to the ground.
That's rolling quicker. Yeah.
You need to use the proper loft on the putter and get that ball up in the air a little bit early. Yeah, so that's better. That's dramatic. Feel like you could hit a putt that way?
Absolutely.
Okay, now let that putter release and get that.
I'm gonna feel like I go like a little bit down.
Yeah, and I'd like to see this pointing back into center when you're done. That has a nicer sound to it too. That was definitely more in the middle of the club face.
My Swing Expedition continues on GolfPass as Brad Faxon shares his breakthrough moment on the golf course. Members can stream now on golfpass.com.
Was spending some time with Gary Woodland a few years ago, and I made a comment to him, not really that he should do this, but I said when I putted my best, I always had to mark the ball before I hit the next putt. And he played well the next week, putted well, and I saw a quote in the paper, Brad Faxon told me to hit it harder. And I'm going,
That's great.
I didn't say it was great. But, you know, there's some players that have been die putters.
Crenshaw,
David
maybe.
Stockton and Ben Crenshaw.
Sure.
They both like to ball to just go in at, you know, last roll. And then I always saw players, especially when they were younger and better, and I would put Tiger in that category, Tom Watson in that category, Seve Ballesteros, 3 of the best putters ever, that always seemed to roll the ball past the hole. And I think that gives you a good chance. And when you're putting well, you don't sweat over 3-foot putts, do you? But I always felt like the best rounds that I had, I worked hard because, you know, the putts that I missed were past the hole, and I had to mark, and I had to go through a full routine.
Yes.
And some of them were those little knee knockers. But when you're young like you are and confident, you make those putts. And if you have an instructor tell you, Chris, that there's only one way to do it, run away.
Yeah.
This could mark the Rory comeback. What a finish for McIlroy!
Man, what a putting exhibition.
You've also done some great work recently with Rory. I remember Bay Hill played awesome last year, maybe one of the best putting tournaments in a long time we've seen from a guy on tour.
You know, he had been struggling with his putting a little bit, and what I liked is he had already decided he was going back to his longer putter. He wanted to be open a little bit at address when he was standing there, and those were his feels, those were his good senses, and I would never fight what I believe versus what a player feels when they putt their best.
Yep.
So that's number one.
Yeah.
And you know, when I
respect the players' feels, right?
Yeah,
respect their instincts a little bit.
Don't you think that's crucial?
100%.
And when they've played their best, I always want to know what were their feels and their thoughts and how did they work. And when I got there, he was, I would say, stuck a little bit over the ball, where he was spending a little bit more time still.
Okay.
Where he had maybe 2 seconds, and you could count 1001, 1002 before anything moved. We talked a little bit about that, and I had him hit some putts with a sand wedge, you know, belly in the sand wedge with his 5-wood, and he made 3 putts in a row from 15 feet on greens like this with wind like this. And then he made some turn in the putter. He had an answer style putter that he putted that way. And it was interesting to me watching because there's no correct way to do that, right? You don't really aim it that
Right.
way. You don't know whether to hover the putter or to raise it
You're
while you.
sort of eliciting this like great hand-eye coordination that you know he has in abundance.
But what happened is that as soon as he got the putter back and did it the regular way, I said, just copy those feels. It was softer, and there was more of a flow, and you can watch that in an athlete, can't you? And what was fun to see is I saw a little bit of a trigger with his right thumb, had a little bit of a bounce right before he went to putt.
Okay.
I battled with myself. Should I tell him that? Because it's obviously subconscious. But I said, you know what, if he knows that, I think that he'll appreciate what I'm showing him. And he got in there and almost immediately figured something out.
Swing Expedition continues in 2 weeks on August 19th, when I travel up the road to Orlando, Florida to catch up with one of the pioneers of golf instruction, David Ledbetter. That's next time on Swing Expedition.
We're going to wrap tonight's episode with a very unique time machine. Brad, you've invited us back to your home to show us some special kind of memories that you've had. Take us back in time.
Well, these are Ryder Cup bags from the 2 Ryder Cups I played in 1995 at Oak Hill, where the bag you are, and the 97 bag at Valderrama. Lanny Watkins was my captain there, and this was Tom Kites when we went to Spain against Seve Ballesteros.
Awesome.
Which is always very cool. And there was a big tradition back in the 80s and the 90s where if you were a ping putter user, and I used a ping back then, this was a My Day, and whenever you won a tournament or did something special like played on a Ryder Cup, Ping would gold plate a copy of the putter that you used.
Beautiful.
It's kind of neat to have that. You know, it says the Ryder Cup and the year that you played and has your name on it.
That was a great episode. Thank you for having me out at Old Palm.
I
at
hope
your
you
home.
putt better.
Yeah, I think I will. That was a great lesson you gave me as well.